All right, so we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the concept of login. And login is such a big deal on the internet that this is a little bit more in depth of a video. I'll try to keep it short, but there's multiple concepts of login. And what this video is going to try to do is just give you a full walkthrough of the different levels of login so you understand the concept. So the question is, why do I have to log in? Why do I have to keep entering my password, entering my passcode, and all this type of stuff? And so to better understand why login is so important, we're going to use the analogy of a house and how a house works. Everybody understands that because you live in one, hopefully. And if you have a house, this is a really nice house, but if you had a house, what you would then do is, let's say that you had a gate in front of the house. And so what you would do is basically you would, you would walk through that gate and you would get to your front door. I'm going to use red so you can see this a little bit better. So you walk through that gate, you can get to your front door. And once you get to your front door, the first thing you need to have is you need to have some keys, right? Because if it's not your house, then you shouldn't be there. And therefore you need to have some keys in order to get into the house, right? So that's pretty straightforward, nothing fancy there. Now, once you get into the house, you're going to obviously enter your keys and you're going to get into the living room or a common room of the house, okay? So once you get to the common room of the house, from here you could do a number of things. So the common room is just, the general sitting area, and then normally there's more doors to a living room, doors to a bedroom, door to a bathroom, right? So you could go to the bedroom, right? Change your clothes, take a nap, whatever kind of deal. And you could also go to the kitchen, get some food, right? Or cook something, whatever it is. Doesn't really matter. The point here from a concept perspective is that your living room allows you to go to multiple different rooms in the house. It's sort of like the hub or the centralized location for everything. All right. Now, there's one other thing I want to mention here is that you might have a lock on your bedroom door, but your kitchen might be open and your bathroom might be open just in case a guest comes in. You don't want to lock your bathroom. That would be weird. So those are, you might have an extra keys for the bathroom or whatever, or for the bedroom, sorry. But you might also have in your bedroom something that you have very private. It's your stuff. It's very private. You don't want anybody else to know about it. So in one of these drawers or in a counter somewhere or whatever, you might have, let's say, on one of these counter, you might have a safe, okay? And a safe with a security code. So a safe basically like this, all right? So you would have a safe in your bedroom and it has a security code on it, right? And so you'd have to punch in one of those codes, blah, 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 1, 2, 3, okay? Punch it in, and then you'd be able to open up the safe and see what's inside the safe, right? So those are all concepts of security, right? You have your front gate, which is very easily, you can just walk through it. Maybe there's a gate there, but the point is that, there's no real security here. Anybody could come in and out. It's just really to keep out maybe animals or something. And then you get to your front door, you got your keys and so on, right? You get into the house. Now, in the same way with a computer system, you have the concept of a front gate, right? So with a computer, it might be a power button. So let's say there's a power button somewhere in this corner or in the back or at the top or somewhere on the device, maybe in the left-hand corner. Either which way, there's a power button, P-O-W-E-R-B-U-T-T-O-N. Okay. Now this doesn't matter whether you're on an iPad, right? So if it's an iPad, I'm gonna use a thinner thing. If it's an iPad, then maybe you have the power button on the side, right? So you have a little power button on the side. And if it's a cell phone, say it's a cell phone, right? Same thing again. You might have a central button down the bottom here, and you might have a power button, right? So one of them, you have to press press this one here in order to get the device on. Now, when you turn on the device, doesn't matter whether this is a, an iPad or it's a cell phone or it's a computer, right? Either one of these buttons, whichever one you press for whichever device you're on, the first thing you're going to get to is a front door. Okay? You're going to get to a lock screen, right? And that lock screen will require one of two things. It will either require that you enter your username and password, which usually is your name or an email address. In the case of Windows, it's an email address. What is your email address? And what is your password? Okay. And if it's the iPad or your phone, you would enter a code. So it would be like a digital pad, and you would enter code just because it's easier to type in a number than for you to type in a really long email address, let's just say. So that's the thing. But a concept here to take note of is if there's multiple people living in the house, each person would have their own keys, right? Each person would have their own keys. You would give, you would give your son a key, hopefully, right? And you would give, maybe if you have a daughter, you'd give your daughter keys, and maybe your husband or whoever, right? So each person would have their own keys all together. And so that same concept exists here, right? On the desktop computer, in the Windows case, they have this list of people, right, that have keys to this computer. And so you could just click on their profile and enter their information. And that would be the equivalent of choosing that person's keys. Like say you lost your keys, you could ask them for their username and password. You shouldn't, and then log in, right? That would be the equivalent of borrowing their keys to get into the computer, right? So that's the concept there. And again, if you're on the iPad, you could do the same thing. It would just be a different passcode or number, right? And if you're on a phone, it would be the same thing. But generally speaking, there's only one user on the device. But the concept here is still the same. You put in the name, email address, all right? So once you log into the device, you're going to get to the living room, right? You're gonna get to the living room. The living room is the one central area where everybody has, all is access to all the doors. Remember, we have all these different doors here. So in the computer version, right? When you're in the living room, they don't call it the living room, obviously. They call it the desktop, DESKTOP. You're on the desktop, meaning that it's just the open area where you have access to all the different programs in the computer, or you have access to multiple different doors. Think of a program as a door, right? So what would be an example of a door? Well, you could use, let's just say one door might be Skype, SKYPE, right? Just like a door in the real world would be like a door to the kitchen or a door to the bedroom. Those are all functions, right? So your bedroom has one function and your kitchen has a different function. The same way the application, right? Skype has one function. What's the function of Skype? Is to make calls, CALLS, right? So you can make calls. Whereas this other application here might be, what do you know? Our browser, BROWSER. And what is the function of the browser? We talked about this, to browse the internet, right? You also might have another application in here. Maybe it's Microsoft Word, MSWORD. And what is the function of this application? It's to create documents, right? So these are all doors. So once you're on the desktop, you could now say, oh, you know what? I want to go into the browser door. Therefore, I open up the browser application. Or I want to go into the Skype door. I want to open up the Skype application. Or I want to go into the Microsoft Word door. I want to create a document, right? And because you're in it's, you know, in the real world, you're in 3D space, so you could just walk in and out of different doors. In the computer world, you're not in 3D space. So the way how you switch between applications is you would click on one of these icons here, and that would open up one. It would take over the entire screen. It would take over the entire screen like so, right? And once you click on that, it actually puts an icon. So if you open up the E, it would put an icon here. And so that program would be active. Now, if you click the start button again, right, and open up another program, okay, then that program becomes the main program. So that program takes over, you know, covers up the other program, and then it puts another icon at the bottom here, right? So you can have these multiple different icons across the board. And let's just say I open up another program again, right? It would then open up and put another icon on the taskbar here, and then it would cover up the screen with that program. And that's important to understand, because you could then go back now and switch by clicking on an icon. You could click and switch to this icon, or you could say, you know what, I want to go back to the Skype program. I could click this icon here, or I want to go back to the browser, and I could click and go back to this one here. So you could just switch between different doors, which would be the equivalent in the real world of, you know what, I want to be in the kitchen, now I want to go to the bedroom, now I want to go to the bathroom, right? Exact same thing, but this way, because it's a flat surface, you just click on the taskbar. This bar at the bottom here is called the taskbar. All right, so that's a key concept to understand about when you're logged in and you're going to different device. Now let's say you open up a browser, right? And we talked about the fact that in your bedroom, you have a safe. And that safe is a very specific set of private information that you have access to. When you open up the browser, right, you could then visit, as we talked about this, you can now visit a website for your mail. So you could go to www.gmail.com. And when you go to gmail.com, Gmail is going to ask you for a login. And that login would be the equivalent of trying to open up your safe, right, by entering this passcode and then basically entering that information, because this is extra private information. So you have to enter your username and password in the browser. So even though you're in the browser, which means you're in the house, right, and you're in the bedroom, you still have to enter your passcode to access Gmail, which is like a safe, because it's private information. It's your email, it's your personal inbox, right? So I hope that explains the concept of logging in. This might be a little bit longer video, but hopefully you kind of get some of the concepts of what's the difference. And one of the other things we're going to talk about in some of the next video is the concept of being in a browser and having multiple tabs, which is a different concept, because now you're in the browser and you could also switch to different websites. So we're going to talk about that in another video. Okay.